My unfaithful wife admitted, I plan to gain experience with other men for a few years, and you must live by my rules. I assumed she was joking, but she was dead serious. So I replied, then I'll be comparing you with other women too. She lost her calm completely, and this is what unfolded next. Can you imagine your wife, after 23 years, calmly telling you she's going to start dating other men, just for fun? My world shattered that day, but what she didn't realize was that I wasn't just going to sit back and take it. This isn't a story about weakness, it's about the brutal awakening of a man who thought he had it all, and what happens when the person you love reveals a truth so shocking, it redefines everything. My name is Travis Wesley, and I thought I knew my wife. I thought I knew our life. But that Monday, everything changed. I came home, whistling, feeling good about my day, only to find Lauren at the kitchen table. She had a glass of red wine, and my favorite whiskey sat untouched, right there in front of her. I dropped my briefcase, poured myself a glass, and sat down. "What's the secret, Lauren?" I asked, noticing a sly smile playing on her lips. But when she looked me in the eyes, a wave of unease washed over me. Something was off. "Do you think I've been a good wife and mother all these years?" she asked, so calmly. My brow furrowed. I knew she understood how my mind worked, saw the wheels turning before I answered. "Yes," I said slowly. "I think so." "What are you trying to say with that?" Seconds stretched. I carefully considered my next words. "Do you think I should be rewarded for fulfilling my duties as a good husband and father?" "What kind of question is that, Travis?" she snapped, suddenly irritable. Then, she dropped the bomb, her voice like a lake on a beautiful morning, utterly still. "Today, I want to go on a date with another man." I was so grateful I was sitting down. Bile rose in my throat. My mind went blank, a wiped clean slate. A date with another man? I choked out, struggling to form the words. Lauren looked at me as if I were a stupid child and nodded slowly. "Yes. With another man." "Trav, I haven't been on a date with another man since you and I became exclusive 24 years ago. I have been a good wife to you, a good mother to your children. I deserve a night with another man. A chance to try someone new. Not someone to love, just pleasure. I'm 47, and I can't stay beautiful forever. I want to try more men while I'm still a desirable woman and can have them with the snap of my fingers." My jaw slowly, painfully, dropped. I knew I had understood her correctly. But surely, she couldn't be serious. Could she? I didn't even have to ask. Lauren nodded, as if reading my thoughts. "Damn," I muttered. She stood up and headed upstairs to change. When she came back down, she looked stunning. A little black dress, clinging to her gorgeous body, a cutout to the middle of her chest, barely reaching mid-thigh. Light makeup. Long blonde hair pulled back. She was a spectacle. Lauren saw that, in this moment, her husband was completely hers. "I won't let this happen, Lauren," I said, standing up. "I don't know what you're thinking, but you won't do this while remaining my wife." Her bright smile twisted into an ugly grin. "You won't ruin this evening for me, Trav. You can speak harshly, but you know you won't divorce me because of this. Where will you find a woman like me if you let me leave? Nowhere. And you know it. And the children will be angry with you for destroying our family. Suck it up, Travis. Let me have fun for a few years. And then it will be just you and me again, and we will grow old together. You know you love me. You don't want to be left alone for the rest of your life while I have men to choose from." The sound of a car horn. Lauren grabbed a small bag and walked over to me, trying to kiss me goodbye. I shuddered, recoiling. Lauren looked surprised, hurt for a moment. Then her expression turned to anger. "I'll be back home." "I don't know when," she snapped, and walked out the door. I watched in horror. Could 23 years of marriage be over? It looked like it. She didn't even look back. Lauren, you see, was one of those people. The kind scientists say have an advantage. Good looks just make life easier. And for her, it only got worse. By 13, she learned that batting her eyes and smiling could get her any boy. For the stubborn ones, a slight puff of the chest sealed the deal. I fell under her spell, like virtually every other boy. My family moved to the city the summer before 8th grade. I met Lauren on the first day. Captivated. I was an athlete, popular. Eventually, I asked her out. She accepted. We dated through high school until she dumped me junior year for Landon Estes Jr., the football star. I was 5 feet 4 inches and 110 pounds. Estes was 6 feet 2 inches and 190. It hurt, but I accepted it. I knew Lauren was out of my league. Out of most boys' leagues. She hung out with the popular crowd, I was one of the faceless masses. When we'd run into each other, she'd act like I was a complete stranger. It made me angry at first, then I just learned to accept it. By senior year, I had grown 9 inches, 40 pounds. I was handsome, athletic. But still far from Lauren's league. We both went to prom with other people. She was prom queen. I went with my attractive, but not spectacular, girlfriend. Lauren was untouchable then. After high school, I went to Michigan State for accounting. I dated, but no serious romances. Lauren went to Central Michigan, majored in marketing. She dated, and slept with, many men. Even a professor to turn a B into an A. Years of being the object of desire had made her a master of the game. By coincidence, we both ended up in Grand Rapids after college. About a year after graduating, I was out with colleagues at a bar when Lauren walked in. All heads turned. "Who is this goddess?" my colleague Steve White croaked. Without thinking, I replied, "This, ladies and gentlemen, is Lauren the goddess, and your humble servant's 8th grade girlfriend." Every head at the table swung to me, many mouths agape. "You met her?" one asked, incredulous. I winced. I hated drawing attention. I was about 14 when we reached senior high. She ignored me all 4 years, like I was the invisible man. "So, do you at least have a good story about groping her?" joked another colleague. The table erupted in laughter. This made Lauren and her friends look over. She thought she recognized me, but wasn't sure. They sat at a nearby table, Lauren facing us. "Dude, aren't you going to say hi?" Steve asked. "Jesus, Steve, you're drooling." "Very unimpressive," I said. She pretended not to know me for 4 years. I don't understand why she would remember me now. Several heads nodded. Lauren kept studying me. Then she snapped her fingers and pointed. "It's not good, Lauren," one of her friends said. "If you point at someone in a restaurant, you might get hurt." She ignored her. "I'll be right back," she announced. "I need to say hello to an old friend." She practically jumped up and walked over. "Trav, hello." "Very glad to see you," she exclaimed, approaching me. I rolled my eyes at my friends, then turned to her with a fake happy expression. "Lauren, it's good to see you," I said, almost without emotion, rising. She stepped into my personal space, placed her hands on my shoulders, and kissed me tenderly on the lips. My colleague sat stunned. I was stunned. Lauren realized this, smiling a not entirely innocent smile. She was comfortable playing this game. She knew I wasn't. "Let's go to our table. I'll introduce you to the girls," she said, taking my hand and practically dragging me. I spent most of the evening with Lauren and her friends. Before I left, Lauren took my cell, entered her number, and wrote mine down. She was more than intrigued that I seemed indifferent to her. This had never happened to her before. I was polite, but I spent as much time talking to her friends as I did with her. She kissed me several times, I never kissed back. Monday morning, my colleagues grilled me. I told them I stayed about an hour, then went home. She's impressive, but she's 14 levels above me. I understand, I grumbled. I don't need such grief. But grief found me anyway. 2 days later, as I was leaving work, she was waiting by my car. I grumbled to myself, though I had to admit, in a dress one size too small, she looked like pure dynamite. "Why didn't you call, Trav?" she asked, her voice quiet, as I approached. I tried not to widen my eyes as I looked her up and down. She was like a goddess. The low-cut top unbuttoned all the way down to her cleavage. The hem ended just about 2 inches below her crotch. "Damn it," I muttered. She leaned forward, wrapped her arms around my neck, and pressed a kiss to my lips. I was defenseless. Her tongue slid into my mouth like a snake, attacking me. I dropped my briefcase. The kiss dragged on. Several colleagues, stopped in shock, quickly got into their cars and drove away. We went to a restaurant far from the city center, ate happily. Lauren spent most of lunch tugging at the bottom of her dress. Both I and the young waitress seemed to enjoy her struggle. I was wary of Lauren, but I was only a man. When a scantily clad goddess turned on her charm, I was toast. The best I could hope for was to perform well in bed. "Oh my God," I whispered to myself, seeing Lauren without clothes for the first time. This woman was the goddess I had always imagined. If this was my only chance, I had to give it my all. Lust took over. Having had our fill, we lay face to face, looking into each other's eyes. Lauren smiled lewdly. "Apparently, I screwed up big time a few years ago," she whispered. "You have amazing abilities." Who would have thought? If only I had known. We've lost several years. Lauren knew what was right in front of her. While I wasn't in her league in looks, I was still handsome, fit, and by the looks of it, had a good career ahead. "He's also very good in bed," she thought, though she said nothing. Despite my doubts about her self-esteem, our relationship gradually improved. Her beauty was obvious, but I slowly fell in love with who Lauren was. I bought an engagement ring. But before proposing, we sat down. We talked about fidelity. She had impressed me so far, but I wanted nothing left unsaid. "Obviously, I don't know much about your past. I'm not going to ask about numbers or names," I said. "What happened in the past will remain in the past. The same goes for me. But I need to know about the future. From now on, I want us to be fully exclusive. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't believe you can do this for us, I need to know now." I placed a small black box on the table. Lauren looked straight into my eyes, then back at the box. "I will never cheat on my husband. Never." I remembered those words. Apparently, my wife didn't consider this cheating, since she warned me in advance. I knew that wasn't true. She expected, hoped that I would take it that way. Because if I didn't, she wouldn't accept it. I knew Lauren had had many opportunities to cheat over the years, and as far as I could tell, she had rejected all of them, like a good wife should. She was a 10, hell, a 12, and I considered myself a 6 at best. This left plenty of room for someone closer to her physical level to sneak in. Assuming she hadn't had an affair I didn't know about, she had lived for 23 years as a real wife. I knew I should be grateful for these years, but I wasn't. When I said, "I love you," I wanted it to be forever, not a measly 23 years. In fact, not a week went by without Lauren receiving proposals. Not just from men. She knew she wasn't just beautiful, she was amazing, a rare goddess. When God created his wife, he had an exceptional day, I always said. At first, Lauren told me every time she was hit on, trying to be transparent. But after a few years, I told her I trusted her enough that she didn't need to tell me everything. The only time I'd want to know is if the pest didn't accept her first refusal. Then I'd take action. I, on the other hand, was rarely approached. Partly because I used my wedding ring almost as a shield. Within minutes of meeting a woman, I'd speak in glowing terms about my wife and children, extinguishing any sparks. I didn't even realize what I was doing. Most women shut down before they even had a chance to flirt. Lauren had no idea her husband was turning off potential flirts, or worse. Our almost fairy tale marriage lasted 22 years before Rosa Esposito entered the proverbial Garden of Eden. Or rather, came to work at the same PR firm as Lauren. In Bob Seger's words, she was a dark-haired beauty with big brown eyes and a big chest. Men were drawn to her like metal to a magnet. In any other office, she would have been an alpha female. But at Super Solutions, she became, at best, a faithful assistant to the hottest woman on the planet. 42-year-old Rose had been married for 15 years, but according to her, she wasn't a fan of it. She had several affairs with her husband's knowledge, and several more without. She often shared stories of her adventures with Lauren. A very good storyteller, and her intimate stories seemed fantastic. "So, you haven't tried anyone since you got married?" Rose asked one day during a coffee break. "You're just a rock woman, but I don't believe you don't want this." "Well, I'm not saying I'm not curious, but I would never cheat on Travis," Lauren said. In recent months, Lauren had noticed she didn't get as much attention from men in bars and restaurants. Looks that were previously directed at her now went to younger women. She started to doubt her ability to visually attract. Let alone play the what-if game. "What if hubby lets you try?" Rose pushed. "What then?" Lauren's face showed she'd never considered such a scenario. The wheels in her head spun madly. "I guess if I had permission, then it would be a completely different story," Lauren admitted with a mischievous grin. "Have you ever thought about asking permission?" Rose asked. "You know, everything worth having is worth asking." Lauren's face lit up, then went dark. "He will never give me permission." "Never." "Should I do everything for you?" Rose asked. "Unspoken permission. Tell him and then take what you want regardless of his answer. Tell him that he loves you enough to let you do this, that you can get through this because it has nothing to do with love, that you love only him." I was awakened by the sound of a car approaching the house. My watch read a little after 3 a.m. A glance at the Woodford Reserve showed I'd finished about half. "Great evening," I quipped as she walked through the front door. I looked closely at the cliché she had become. Her hair was combed, but tousled. Her makeup was missing. Her clothes rumpled. She didn't look remorseful, but smug. "I could say the same to you," she hissed. "You didn't have to wait." "You know, I am going to sleep," I said. "And you may be, but never again in this life with you." I snapped back. Lauren gave me a look of disgust and headed upstairs. I poured 3 more fingers of bourbon and went back to watching ESPN. I spent the night in my folding chair, half sitting, half lying, my stomach rumbling. Around 9 a.m., I got up and made myself breakfast. While eating, I heard the shower turn on. Normally, I'd expect her to come down in a robe, hair wrapped in a towel. This morning, she didn't come down for about an hour. When she did, her hair was dried, she was dressed and made up, impeccable. I expected nothing less. "Did you happen to leave me something to eat?" she asked. "I made a big pot of coffee, but cooked the food yourself," I replied. "And since you're dressed at home, I think now is the time to talk," I said categorically. Lauren was surprised by how emotionless I seemed. She expected me to foam at the mouth, to be irrational, which would make me easier to manipulate. Rational Travis would make the conversation much more difficult, she reasoned to herself. "Don't you want to know about last night?" she said quietly. I detected a note of superiority. Asterisk, does she really believe he wants to know about how he was cuckolded? Hardly, asterisk, I want to know how you see our marriage moving forward, I said, my voice no louder than hers. As I said yesterday, I intend to try several other men over the course of several years. Only intimate, no love. I only love you, but I want to try a few more men while I still have the looks and the body. I gave everything to you for 23 years, and I never had a thought about betrayal. I want the thrill of something unfamiliar. You're wonderful in bed, but I want some variety. Well, have some other experience for a while and then you and I will go off into the sunset together. And I will be grateful to you for this experience and will spoil you exclusively for the rest of our days, Lauren said. I listened intently as she spoke, preparing toast and jam for my coffee. The way she buttered her toast while talking about the most important things in my life seemed dispassionate. I had so many questions. Is it all because you want variety? Am I not enough for you? I asked, my voice cracking. She started to answer, but I interrupted her. So, you want to live in an open marriage for a few years and then return to monogamy again? Does this mean I can date others, too? Lauren tried, unsuccessfully, to suppress her giggles. The idea of her sweet, quiet husband asking another woman out was simply laughable to her. I was the most serious about marriage of any man she had ever met. However, if this is what it takes for him to agree in principle, yes, she answered. Of course, I assume that for you it will also be just intimate. I raised my eyebrows and shrugged. Lauren had no idea what this movement meant. However, she had an idea. So, would you like to go on a date with Rose? A very nice woman from my office. I'm sure she'll be happy to agree, Lauren said, knowing her friend would have no problem having a night with her husband, especially if it meant helping Lauren achieve her goal of having intimate relationships with other men and still being married. I looked puzzled. The lustful 21-year-old bachelor in me wanted Rose. The responsible 47-year-old married guy knew I couldn't do this. I would be glad to have a date with Rose. But no, baby, thank you. That will make me as much of a traitor as you were last night, I said. Lauren's face, which had started to smile, suddenly contorted into an angry grimace. I am not a traitor, she screamed. Well, if you insist, baby, I said, much more seriously than she could have expected. But I still don't agree to it. Well, come to your senses, baby, because I will do this even if you don't. She snorted. The previous week, I had already instructed my lawyer to prepare all the necessary documents, hoping they wouldn't be needed. I planned to call my wife on Monday morning, but first, I needed to call my 2 daughters and tell them. Neither 21-year-old Jackie nor 19-year-old Michelle believed me at first. But after talking with both, I discovered that my eldest daughter may have already suspected something was wrong. So, you knew she was going to create this nightmare, and you didn't tell me? Jackie shouted over the phone. You don't think I deserve to know what is going to happen? Please, Daddy, I found myself in a very difficult situation. One of you would not be happy with me, no matter what I did. Besides, it's her body. It doesn't belong to you. And if she wants to share it. Stop! Do not continue. I shouted. I understand that she put you between us, but don't tell me that she can do whatever she wants because this body is hers. We took vows. The oath abolishes speech about her body. I understand, but she... Jackie muttered, then fell silent. Damn, baby. I'm sorry, Daddy, she whispered. When Lauren walked through the door at 2 a.m., I was nowhere to be seen. Even though she arrived an hour earlier than her previous date, she looked a little more shabby. Gabriel Esposito was a large, strong man, perhaps the strongest Lauren had ever encountered in bed. By the end of the evening, she could hardly move. She knew that by tomorrow she would most likely have a couple of bruises from his grip. Overall, it was a great night. She thought she could enjoy Gabriel another time. Lauren was shocked and embarrassed when she was handed divorce papers at her office on Monday morning. She burst into tears and ran to the ladies' room. A few minutes later, hearing the noise, Rose appeared. "You should have known that he would at least give you the documents," Rose said. "You really hurt him, baby. This is his way of hurting you back. An eye for an eye. Men are such children. He's trying to force things. He won't give up his 23-year marriage and half his belongings. Give him a week to be alone, and he'll come crawling back," she said, trying to comfort her. Straightening up, Lauren returned to her desk, picked up her phone, and immediately dialed my number. "How could you do this to me in the office, in front of everyone?" she practically screamed into the phone. "I know you're hurting, but I deserve better, Trav. After 23 years. Don't I deserve something better than you unilaterally deciding to open our marriage? If I'm not right for you, couldn't you have just warned me in advance, and we could have parted ways like civilized people?" "I don't want civility," I said. "I don't want to get a divorce. I still love you. You still love me," she wailed. "I still love you," I growled, "but every time you have a night with someone else, that love diminishes. My love is not a bottomless well like yours. I always thought this was true. Who knows? Maybe we were both wrong." Lauren fought for a divorce. Her lawyer requested, and received, marriage counseling. Although I was adamantly opposed, Lauren smiled and I frowned as we were ushered into the consultant's inner sanctum. We found Lillian Kamek sitting in one of the chairs. Data on marriage counselors shows that most believe their job is to reconcile divorcing couples, and female counselors seem to be biased in favor of women, the consultant began. "Let's start with correcting the errors. Let's start with the simplest thing, Mrs. Wesley. Did you really tell your husband that you were going to date other men for a few years?" I tried my best to prevent the consultant from seeing my smirk. Lauren tried her best not to let the consultant see how shocked she was. She thought about lying, but then realized she didn't have a ready-made legend for this lie. Yes, I told him about it," she answered quietly. "That's what I want. I don't need him to do for me. This won't affect our marriage." "Well, I think we'll end here," the consultant said. "Sorry to waste your time, Mrs. Wesley. I'll talk to the judge and end this farce." But. Lauren began to stutter. "Honey, if you thought for even a minute that what you did to your husband would work with me, then you are crazy. You should be ashamed of yourself, but obviously you don't have an ounce of shame." "Frankly, you disgust me," Miss Kamek said. Over the next month, Lauren called and texted me several times a day. I had rented a small apartment near our home. I didn't answer calls or texts. Then she turned to our daughters for help. They called several times. "Dad, you know you still love her. If she stopped dating other men, would you give her another chance?" Michelle asked during one of these calls. "So, she still continues to do this even after I served her?" I asked in a trembling voice. I received only silence in response. That was all the answer I needed. Michelle didn't call again and didn't ask me to try again. I was surprised by how quickly word of my impending divorce spread, especially among single women. Several women at my work expressed their condolences over my marital problems, as did several women who were friends of both Lauren and me. I was smart enough to realize that not all their condolences were altruistic. Connie Mung, Lauren's longtime friend, called to express her regret. She almost directly offered me a shoulder to cry on, and not just a shoulder. I was shocked that my wife's close friend was hitting on me so openly. In all the years of acquaintance, the divorced woman never even cast a sidelong glance at me. "I would never pursue a friend's husband, it's just wrong," she told me. "But now that you are a free man, the rules are different. I'm letting you know that I'm interested in you." Shocked, I replied, "I'm flattered, but I'm not a free man yet, Connie, and I won't date until the divorce is final. I know I'm being stupid, but I won't cheat. You're such a Boy Scout, Trav. This is one of the things I like about you." I always liked it. Can you at least set me up on a date when free? Connie asked. Of course, I said. But I don't want to come between you and Lauren. You've been friends for many years. I appreciate your sensitivity, but just because it's stupid doesn't mean I should miss out on a good person. I wouldn't even think twice if you were just some guy I didn't know when we just met. Connie said. Maybe I'll call you when I take off the leash, I joked. Connie was an Asian beauty, 5 feet tall, with a toned body and waist-length black hair. One of her main assets, in my eyes. I admitted to myself that I was more than surprised that she showed interest in me. I was true to my word and called Connie the day my divorce became official. On Saturday evening, we went to a restaurant and then to a local jazz club. Connie noticed I was awkward. I feel like an inexperienced 15-year-old, I replied. I haven't been on a date with another woman in over 26 years. Don't tell me the protection in your wallet is the same one you had on your last date before Lauren, she joked. Should I have had protection? Crap. I didn't even think about it. Well, I'm a noob, I replied. At the end of the evening, Connie kissed me tenderly. We both felt good after the date, and I promised to call again. I didn't think much about taking off my wedding ring on the day the divorce was final, but apparently, it was a big deal for unmarried women. Noticing the emptiness on my ring finger, several female employees took notice and commented. Suddenly, the level of flirting in my office increased noticeably. This was new to me. One day over lunch, I told my best friend at the office about it. There are a lot of beautiful women in this office. How did I not notice this before? I asked. You, my friend, were just a terrible henpecked man, Robert Ardo said. You were so deeply in love with this woman that you didn't even look at other women as intimate beings. I mean, she is a beautiful woman, no doubt, but you let her put your courage in her purse. And maybe that was part of the problem. She is constantly being tested. It has value. And you were so trained. Such a vibration emanated from you that not a single woman even looked at you in the first month after the divorce. In the first month after the divorce, I went on 4 dates, 2 of them with Connie. I hadn't yet managed to sleep with any of the 3 women, but that wasn't my goal. In the second month, I was just as in demand and slept with 2 women. My daughters, who had been in contact with their mother more than me in recent months, heard her constantly assert that while she could have virtually any man with just a snap of her fingers, their father was an ordinary man in his 40s who found it difficult to even find a mate, not to mention a permanent girlfriend. They began to feel sorry for me. One Saturday morning, about 2 months after the divorce, they went to my apartment together, unannounced. I was unhappy that I was woken up at 8:36 a.m., especially since I had entertained my companion until late the night before. Sonia, a busted 25-year-old, was the daughter of a friend who needed a reliable gentleman for her wedding celebration. The evening went so well that the couple decided to end it at my apartment. At that moment, she was sleeping in my bed when I opened the door in a robe. What? I asked, throwing open the door and seeing the smiling faces of my daughters holding bags of bagels. Smoked salmon and cream cheese. Hello, Father. Could your 2 beloved daughters come over for breakfast? Jackie said as they entered. I kissed them both and led them to the kitchen. They were just putting away the bagels when Sonia came out of the bedroom wearing one of my white shirts, half-buttoned, and probably nothing else. Sorry, I didn't know you were expecting guests, baby, Sonia said. Mom said that you were your own boss. No, Sonia. These are my daughters, Jackie and Michelle, I said, pointing to them. We came to have breakfast, bagel with salmon. Sonia giggled, causing her large chest to jiggle under her shirt. She brushed her thigh against my arm and sank into the chair next to me. The 4 of us engaged in normal small talk for a while until Jackie asked if I had spoken to Lauren lately. I frowned for the first time in days. Until this moment, I had believed that it was almost impossible to get upset when being around Sonia, although she was a little hard for my 48-year-old body. I have to tell you, Dad, we thought you were already missing Mom. Michelle said. We know that she misses you, but I thought that when I was gone, she would live her life to the fullest. I know that I was an anchor for her, though she was hanging out with them, too, at a time in our old bed, Dad, Jackie exclaimed while Sonia giggled and Michelle frowned. She's not a lecher, you know. Really? Think about this for a second. How many different guys has she had a night with since we broke up? And those that I knew about before I left. Both girls blushed and lowered their heads. Wow. If it's 2 guys a month for, 10 months? That's 20 different guys. With 3 guys a month, 30 for me. There are a lot of guys, Sonia said. If looks could kill, my daughters would have Sonia in her grave in seconds. She was well aware of this fact. Hey, don't blame me if a woman can't keep her legs closed, Sonia said. Children, let's not ruin my good weekend, I said. Sorry, all 3 young women muttered at the same time. So, you are a couple? Jackie asked Sonia quietly. You don't look older than me. Your dad said that we are the same age. But don't worry, I'm not going to ever become your stepmother. We're just friends. He's a great guy. He was my date at the wedding reception last night and he's kind of a hottie. Did I mention that he's also a great guy? Well, we have to agree that he's a great guy, although we know he can be a bit of a jerk from time to time, Jackie said. And yeah, he's kind of hot for a guy who's old enough to be your dad. It was Sonia's turn to blush. I blushed, too. Hey baby, remember that we have lunch with the newlyweds' families at the hotel at noon. I need to take a shower and grab some clothes from my apartment before we go, Sonia said. Both daughters rolled their eyes at their father. Mom, she's my age, Jackie told her mother over lunch a few weeks later. And it didn't look like a one-off. They spent quite a long time together. They enjoyed each other's company. I don't think he'll crawl to you soon, Mom. No, you just caught him on a lucky day. He was probably helping a friend's child and got lucky. She is probably a girl of easy virtue who will have intimacy with anyone. Your dad is a great guy, but he's not a stud, Jackie. Jackie raised her eyebrows at her mother. You always seemed pleased with him until you told him you were going to leave him. Why didn't you just cheat on him without telling him? Wouldn't that be a lot easier? You might as well have your cake and eat it, too. That would be cheating, Jackie. And if he caught me, well, then we would break up. Having told him about this, I didn't cheat and was sure that he would give me what I wanted when he realized what exactly he would lose. I must admit, I did not expect a divorce. I never thought he would have the guts to do it. Mom, I think you mistook love for weakness, and somewhere along the way, you decided that everything depended solely on you. Was it all worth it? For the first time, Lauren's face showed the stress of what she had to endure from Rose's lips. Everything sounded much better than it actually turned out to be. She couldn't tell her daughter that the intimacy was normal, but no, it wasn't worth it. She also couldn't tell her daughter that she never thought I would do anything other than sit around and pine for my beautiful ex-wife. She was so self-absorbed that she had no idea that a handsome, if not gorgeous, man with great character, intelligence, and a solid job could be very attractive in the singles market, and not just for middle-aged women. She knew that after the divorce, her ex-husband dated several women, including her old friend Connie, and now with some young woman of easy virtue, the same age as their eldest daughter. Instead of sitting at home and mourning his past life, he goes on dates like a single 20-year-old and gets more attention than he deserves. She didn't tell Connie when she found out her friend was dating her ex for the first time, figuring it was some kind of pity date, but the second date was completely unnecessary. And she told Connie privately, in a rather loud tone. I thought we were friends, Connie. You should be on my side. We girls have to have each other's backs. But he didn't do anything wrong to you, Lauren. And he is a good guy. Great. He is everything I want in a man. Why don't I date Trav? Hell, women are lining up to go on dates with him. He's prime-aged beef on the hook, girl, and he is a great gentleman and great in bed too. I will go on a date with him anytime he invites me. How could you drive such a man away? Lauren silently stared at her friend with her mouth open. She was just beginning to realize that her mistake was growing by leaps and bounds. She loves me and hates coming back to an empty house at the end of the day. She hates sleeping alone at night. I, of course, could not have imagined that my life would become so exciting. I would have been quite happy if my old boring life had remained as it was. But other than that, life suited me quite well. Work was good. Social life was great. I enjoyed being with several women of different ages, and most of my dates ended in bed. I certainly wasn't looking for a long-term partner at the moment, but I sure enjoyed the smorgasbord. There was more to life than just being married to a beautiful woman. Mara Goodling, shoulder-length silver hair streaked with purple, emerging from a hole in the back of her Chicago Cubs baseball cap. Her blue Cubs t-shirt hugged her ample chest, and her light blue levis clung to her figure. Despite being 60 years old, she drew more than her fair share of stares in the left field bleachers at Wrigley Field. One of the people looking at her appraisingly was the man she was with, Travis Wesley, the ex-husband of one of her longtime employees, Lauren Wesley. He and I attended a Cubs game as part of a weekend trip to Chicago. Mara had worked with Lauren for over 15 years. I met Travis at several corporate events where he accompanied his then-wife and always thought he was a handsome and pleasant guy, she thought to herself. She knew that she and Lauren had divorced about 2 years ago. Mara had been a widow for about 5 years. Her longtime husband had died in a car accident. During this time, she went on only one date, after which she decided to find out my phone number. Yes, I remembered her. I thought it was hard to forget a woman who seemed to exude both style and beauty. He would like to go to dinner with her, absolutely, I replied. This was several months before this moment. Our first date took place in an expensive restaurant, after which there was a concert at the Philharmony, tickets provided by Mara. The evening ended with us kissing at the front door of her house. The second date was a Saturday hike on a trail, and she giggled several times when a clearly tired Travis had to take short breaks. It appears she and her late husband were avid climbers and hikers. And although I thought I was in good shape, it turns out I was wrong. I also learned that Mara had a toned body for an older woman and mesmerizing gray eyes. The date ended with Mara and I making tender love on the rug in the living room of her home after a steamy make-out session on the sofa. She intrigued me with her combination of wealthy class and girl-next-door freshness. Mara happily agreed when I suggested she spend the weekend sightseeing in Chicago as part of our third date. On our first date, Mara told me she had no intention of telling Lauren that we were dating. If asked, she would not have denied it, but she was not going to advertise this fact. Mara also told me that Lauren told her coworkers that she and I were getting a divorce due to irreconcilable differences. I told Mara the same story I told everyone else. Lauren had cheated on me with at least 2 different men. I didn't elaborate further. In the 2 years since my divorce, I had developed several strong relationships and enjoyed what I considered an amazing intimate life. All of my partners had a good opinion of me, and some of them hoped that they would be considered when I decided to trust women again and get married. Lauren worked in a different direction. As she told her then-husband before their first date, she was simply looking for satisfaction. While she still had the looks to attract almost any man, she was not looking for an emotional relationship like most of her partners. This major difference between the 2 ex-partners would be a problem for Jackie. She and her mother were deep in preparations for the upcoming wedding, which her father was happily paying for, when Lauren told her daughter that she thought both parents should attend the wedding unaccompanied, so there would be less tension. Jackie quickly agreed with this idea and conveyed it to me that same week when we chatted over lunch. "Does this brilliant idea come from you or from your mother?" I asked sternly. "I plan to bring a lady with me. I'm paying for this holiday and I'm going to have a lot of fun with the one I bring. Hell, I've been taking dance lessons for about a year now, ever since you announced your engagement." Have you taken dance lessons seriously just for my wedding? This is so cute, but no buts, Jackie. She apparently doesn't have anyone she considers close enough to invite, so she's trying to put pressure on me. And again, she acts like a selfish jerk and tries to manipulate the situation in her favor. Sorry, baby, but I won't be showing up to my daughter's wedding without a date. If you don't have the courage to tell her about it, then I certainly will. She can go alone or take a gentleman with her. That's her business. I'll bring the lady with me. Got it, Dad. I will tell her. Your point is correct, and I really want to see you dance, but could you still bring someone older than me? I can do this, baby, but you really should watch how Sonia and I dance. I smiled widely and received a wide smile in response. I took Connie along with me to the wedding. I thought she looked great in the sea green dress she bought and I paid for. We had quarreled because I bought this dress. I explained to her that since I was the father of the bride and would be wearing a tuxedo, she needed a new dress, which I would be happy to buy. And yes, I understand that it also requires shoes, I told her with a wide smile. Walking my eldest daughter down the aisle was one of the greatest and worst experiences of my life. All the other fathers who had told me it would happen had hit the mark. Still, it was a wonderful day. Connie, my children, and I had fun and danced until late at night. The only moment that caused discord was the appearance of my ex-wife with her own gentleman. Not that I cared, but the guy spent most of the first part of the wedding smirking at me, and then most of the second part staring and groping several women like an obnoxious drunk, at least until Jackie asked for her mother to remove the guest. Lauren, clearly embarrassed, apologized profusely and quickly ushered the man out the door before leaving with her date. Lauren still took the time to follow Connie into the women's restroom. "You're the one who stole my man," she said to Connie when they were in the toilet. "I'm sorry, but I've never stolen a man from anyone," Connie answered. "He divorced you before we even started dating. You have no one to blame for this divorce but yourself. You threw away a great man for a cheap night." Lauren's face turned purple. Her eyes, which had initially been staring intently at the other woman, suddenly dimmed. She lowered her head and stood motionless as Connie walked out the door. Connie never said a word to me or the family because she didn't want to ruin our special day. A few months after the wedding, Michelle visited me and seemed restless. I watched her for a moment before asking, "Okay, Mitch, what's going on? You've been kind of nervous all evening." Michelle blushed deeply and began to stutter. I knew something was very wrong. "Dad, you know, Mom talks about getting back together with you from time to time. About how she will win you over when she stops having intimate relationships with other guys. You two didn't have a night or anything, did you?" she asked. "My nightlife is none of your business, young lady," I snapped. "But no, I didn't sleep with your mother." "And what?" "Yes. The fact is that she has a venereal disease, Dad." I heard the end of her conversation with her friend, Rosa, and she said that she had syphilis, Michelle said quietly without looking me in the eyes. I looked surprised and then sad as Michelle watched me out of the corner of her eye. "I guess you're telling me this because you're worried about me," I said. "But it is standard state policy to tell all possible recipients of the disease that they need to be tested." "I did not know that." "I was just worried about you, Dad," she said. "I know Mom is still sleeping around. Several of my friends warned me that she was quite promiscuous. It's always awkward when a friend tells you that your mom isn't perfect." A few days later, I received an unpleasant call from Mara. I immediately realized she was worried about the same things as Michelle, although she obviously also had concerns about her own health. "If you're wondering if I slept with my ex, the answer is not just no, but hell no," I said. "Believe me, Mara, I understand your concern, but I can't help the fact that my ex is a scandal. The scandal is the nicest thing I've heard about her in a long time. In recent months, her activities outside the home have become the subject of gossip on the sidelines. It seems like the longer she's single, the more she loses her guard," Mara said. Lauren used her STD as a starting point in her plan to get me back. She was satisfied that she had had enough men to last her for the rest of her life. 6 months after the doctor said she was cured, she began a plan to get me back. She was still slightly resentful of me for divorcing her the first time, which was not her original plan. This plan might have worked if other women had not started hunting me. Lauren had no doubt that she was a treasure. She didn't expect me to be as attracted to other women. "I know he's a great guy, but can't these women see that he's nowhere near my level of intimate?" she said to Rose one day, as both women sipped margaritas at the bar, waiting for their dates for the evening. Rose pushed her friend to her current lifestyle. She knew that I was quite handsome, but she greatly underestimated the depth of my personality. Also because I always obeyed my wife. She expected me to just sit around and mope while my wife had fun with other men. Who knew that I had such an inner core? Lauren and Rose had been keeping an eye on me since Lauren gave me the ultimatum. And in truth, it turned out that my post-divorce life was almost as intense as Lauren's. If Lauren had been more honest with herself, she might have admitted that her ex-husband's intimate life seemed to be much better from an emotional standpoint. I was more than surprised by the voice on the other end of the line. I hadn't spoken to my ex-wife for almost 2 years. One of my daughters must have given her my new cell phone number. I didn't forbid them to do this, but I said that I did not consider it necessary to ever speak to her directly again. "Hi, Trev," she purred in her sweetest tone. "I think it's time for us to talk. I thought we shouldn't talk until Michelle got married. But since this is not yet the case, maybe we will return to silence again," I said. "Still the same, Travis. Still trying to deny that you love me. But you know what? You love me. You know you want me back." "Still the same, Lauren," I replied. "You still think that everything revolves around you. Look, Trav, I know you're still mad at me, but I really love you. I probably should have just cheated on you and kept you in the dark, but that would have been cheating. It was still cheating, Lauren. Just because you told me you were going to do it doesn't make it any less real. You did it because you thought I would never give up on you. Do you think I'm that pathetic, Lauren?" I said. "I know you think you're a 10, hell, a 12, but more than that, you're gorgeous. I don't have to live in your shadow as the last few years have shown me. I am not just the husband of a beautiful woman. Other women want what I have to offer and are willing to repay me emotionally. My last few years have been absolutely wonderful. Why would I want to date a selfish woman again who clearly doesn't respect me and no matter what she says, doesn't love me the way I loved her?" Loved her in the past tense. After disconnecting, I put down the phone and turned to the woman next to me. "Are you ready for the second round?" I asked Sonia. Sonia eventually found her soulmate and married him. But Connie and Mara continued their relationship with me. I fell in love with both of them in my own way but never married again. They also loved me in their own way and both women accepted this relationship together. Moreover, a few years later, both were invited to attend the wedding of my second daughter, Michelle, with me. This did not please Lauren, who did not invite her boyfriend to the wedding. She complained to her daughter, but Michelle did not support her. After me, Jackie and her family, Connie and Mara, are the 2 closest people in the world to Dad, Michelle answered. They love Dad for who he is and put him above their own selfish interests, which not everyone can say about themselves. He was yours, and you left him for more intimate moments. Why? Simply because she was afraid of getting old and thought that he had no other options. That he would never give up on you, not for anything and not for anyone. I was happy with my life, even if it wasn't my first choice. I left a situation that I considered unacceptable. Lauren's life was not one of loneliness and remorse. After all, she was still a beautiful woman, and beautiful women often just need to show up for men to start hitting on them. Lauren was often approached and had quite a few short-term relationships. However, none of them developed into anything long-term. Looking back, Lauren had to admit that she regretted telling her husband that she was going to leave him only because she still couldn't come to terms with the fact that Travis had given up on her so easily. How could she have miscalculated so badly? She often wondered to herself. She was a 12 out of 10, but he was only a 6. So, what do you think? Was Lauren truly justified in seeking variety in our marriage, or did she completely misjudge my reaction? Have you ever had a moment where you realized the person you loved wasn't who you thought they were? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below.